Another week, another randomly generated 2D roguelike game to sink my claws into. This time we're in the dark world of GoNNER, playing as Ick. The game does very little to introduce you to the setting, never mind what your actual aim is in terms of gameplay. As soon as you hit play, you are launched straight into the game. No dialogue or text box to explain anything. This was definitely a little off-putting since I had literally no idea what I was doing. In the few moments of fumbling around figuring out the controls, I managed to kill myself more times than I would like to admit. That being said, the concept seemed quite simple. Get from one side of the room to the other, where you can then escape to the next level by jumping down some sort of worm's creature's mouth. The gameplay is extremely fast-paced, bearing a very strong resemblance to Binding of Isaac. Throughout the stages you will find different abilities to equip Ick with. These can be different weapons to use. Well, I say weapons, they're really more or less different shaped blobs to do damage to enemies with. The enemies come in different forms as well. The majority of them seem to be floating blobs of goo, but some are shaped more like porcupines and butterflies. The game's high-tempo gameplay is extremely addictive. A quick session before bed soon turned into a couple of hours, and it was then that I realised GoNNER had hooked me. The in-game currency system comprises of rune-like objects that you collect from defeating enemies or getting high scores. Between some stages you will be given the opportunity to spend these runes. This again has shades of Binding of Isaac, as the items in the shop offer no description as to what they actually do. A lot of it comes down to trial and error, as you need to mentally take note of what each item does and then compare it to what you already have. In most cases I found myself cursing because it seemed like I downgraded my loadout rather than improving it. One way of improving this mechanic would be to build in some kind of description system for items you've already obtained. It still retains the essence of the challenge, but it's more enjoyable rather than playing Russian roulette every time. GoNNER's graphical look is a dark but highly artistic styling. Everything looks hand-drawn and the backgrounds have the abstract feel of paint just thrown at walls. Whilst the graphical direction is simple, it is still portrayed well with extremely high production values. The game's soundtrack fits in well with the fast gameplay, and the beat keeps you on your toes even when there aren't enemies around. Of course, a roguelike game wouldn't be a roguelike game if it wasn't punishingly hard. Everything GoNNER happens very quickly, and you're often dead before you know it. It can sometimes be beneficial to slow down the pace a bit and take things in your stride rather than trying to rush to the end of the room. Whilst there is a system in place that allows you to revive your character if you die, it does rely on you having a hefty supply of those runes we mentioned earlier in the video. Often you only have enough currency to actually revive yourself once per run, even if you're lucky. It's easy enough to say that randomly generated levels bode well for the replayability of any title, but it remains to be seen just how much content there actually is in GoNNER. I can't see it having the staying power of, say, Spelunky or Binding of Isaac. Even though there aren't any glaring flaws, there just doesn't seem to be that much to do right now. Take Binding for example. Each room offers you some sort of reward when you beat it, giving you little targets to reach as you continue your run. It gave you a sense of achievement even if you didn't actually complete your run. GoNNER doesn't offer any sort of progression system that carries over between your runs, nor do you get much of a reward whilst actually playing either. There will be a need for a large influx of items added to the game to keep it fresh. I tried to find an exact number of items in the game right now, but couldn't find a precise number. I highly doubt it's anywhere near the 300 items that Binding has though. Overall, GoNNER does feel like a very polished product in terms of visual flair and addictive gameplay. It does, however, need a little bit more work done on it in order to keep the player's interest. It's not a game to be played in long stints, nor is it a game you'll be able to finish in a few days. It will require a little bit of often, but it remains to be seen whether it can keep people coming back. Would I rather play this or stick playing Binding of Isaac? Well, if the developers can add more items and variety to the game, it will definitely stand on its own merit. At $9.99 you are paying a fair price for GoNNER, and you will at least get your money's worth out of this title, if not a whole lot more.